When we moved here in the early 80s, we ran into a problem with our stock not performing very well. Now, this property is mainly basalt soils, red and black basalts, so they should be quite fertile. So I'm trying to work out what was going on. We did soil test and trials all over the property, and this paddock I'm sitting in now, it came back as one of the lowest recordings for phosphorus. It's interesting though that it's probably not the least productive area on our place. Looking around now on the ground, you probably won't see it with the camera. There's quite a lot of this narrowleaf glycine growing here. The good thing that I'm interested in these native legumes that occur here naturally is they persist with low levels of fertility, particularly phosphorus, but they will respond to increased fertility. In the early 90s I did a course called Holistic Management, and it's always seems a rather difficult thing to explain what that's about. But from implementing it as a management regime, a lot of the focus was on managing animals, managing grazing, and really encouraging your native grass and legume species, or all your native species. And from an environmental point of view, that was quite successful. But in a sense, it sort of exacerbated the animal performance issue that we've always had here. So what do I do now? That I should say that animal performance is not just a concern to me from a production side of things and making money. And of course, to support myself out here, I have to make money some way or another. It's also an animal welfare issue. I don't think you can, even if it's good for the environment, you can't run stock in a way that where they're not healthy and doing well. And I think most people will agree with me on that. So I'm sort of thinking about now, what do I do to address this? Do I go, now that I've got my property nearly covered 100% in native grasses and legumes, do I throw my hands up in the air, go and grab the tractor, buy a plough and rip the country up and start growing oats, which seems to be most people's solution for turning off stock, getting them fat and being able to sell? The trouble with that is we've been there, we've done that, and there's issues with that, particularly if you're using cultivation. Every time you cultivate your soil, you lose moisture. You also have to virtually have your paddocks locked up for 6 months of the year, so that's 6 months out of production. The idea being is in that time you are storing moisture. But with the erratic weather patterns we have now, it's hard to predict whether you're actually going to get that moisture, when the rainfall is going to fall. And often as not, it's not going to, when that rain falls, isn't going to suit an oat plant. It might some years, and some years it's not. So you're taking the risk of putting a piece of land out of production in the hope that you get certain weather to enable you to down the track plant an oat crop. And there's also the issues with soil structure degradation and erosion. You plough up country, like you can see around here, it's very sloping country. So you plough it up, that incline, you're going to get water run off, and that's going to cause erosion. You've got to spend money to address. You might have fatter cattle, but you're going to have to spend more money to address that erosion problem. There's also, you can go down the zero-till side of things, using chemicals instead of ploughs. The benefit of that is that you don't lose moisture in cultivation, you don't disturb the soil structure, but you eventually run into issues there of chemical resistance. You are reliant on chemicals to control weeds. So now they're the decisions I have to make now. I'm not inclined to go back to soil erosion and burning up fossil fuels and doing all that lovely stuff. So I'm just going to try a few things to see if I can get this to work, getting livestock to perform on native pastures. And I don't think it's a case of doing one thing or another. It's about having all your options opening and just trying different things until you try something that works. One of the interesting things I've tried in the last 12 months is something called elms. Now, something I was intuitively I didn't agree with, but I tried it. It involves weaning calves off their mothers early and feeding them a high starch diet in the yards for a period of 20 days. The high starch is from a high starch grain and a pellet, a special pellet you buy, of course. You got all these things you got to buy the special ingredients. But what I've found is the calves that I've weaned under that regime have performed better subsequently on this and utilised this native pasture base a lot better than calves I haven't. I've also started using Drought Master bulls, which I think are more suited to this environment than the American bloodline Angus. And so, like I've had, I can see now that a Drought Master cross calves weaned on this this elm system. Some of them have got lumps of fat around their tails 4 to 5 months old, and that's not something I've ever seen before. So that's what I'm going to try. I'm not absolutely sure it's going to work, but it's all very well to say you're being environmental, making money and and doing all these wonderful things, but it's a lot harder in practice to get things to work. It's a lot harder to do than rather than say. So that's where I'm at.